I personally have experienced this. The government would say, here is some funds that have been allocated to small farmers or youth farmers, and you apply to those grants. You don't necessarily get them because either the money vanishes somewhere in midair, or you don't have that information at all because it never gets to you.
Our first question is, how is climate change impacting African agriculture? So in the Afribond Roundtable, we talked about climate change quite a bit when it comes to the startup space, whether it's the climate tech in Africa, and it's been increasing ever since in recent years. And also we've talked about, in general, renewable energy, how it's combating climate change too. But given your experience in agriculture, I'd love to get your thoughts on how climate change has impacted agriculture, farmers, and the ecosystem alike. So, Reynard, happy to start with you.
Thank you, TJ. So again, my name is Raynard. Happy to be here and contribute to the conversation. Yeah, climate change is a very broad term.
Yeah.
There is a lot to unpack. My specific experience in doing my business, which is in sunflower oil, I have experienced a situation where you plant a farm. You didn't have the information that the farm was, for example, in a low floodplain, and therefore when the flood comes, it washes away all the crops. Or you might have just gone on to planting season and you're waiting for rain to come because, well, at least that's the level that perhaps most farmers operate in Africa. So, the flood comes and washes away the seeds, so you have to go back and replant again, and maybe the soil conditions are not that sustainable or are not that great for you to actually do that. So it begs a coordinated effort into the right kind of preparation amid disasters that are caused by climate change. So for a farmer in Africa who has no idea, they only care about the rain, they only care about the rain season circles around the year, and they don't necessarily have the information of where their fields are located. Are they prone to flooding? Are they not prone to flooding? So it takes a coordinated effort between the government, private sector to understand exactly how the locations of these fields will impact the yield if a hazard is to happen around the area. So again, my point here is that we need a coordinated effort between everyone who is involved, but most importantly, farmers need to be made aware. So I'm aware that there is early warning systems that are being employed, and the new technologies, for example, using satellite images to understand the trends that are being employed by different sectors, can be very useful. And in my case, I have also moved into that space where I'm now focusing on trying to understand how satellite images might be used to understand those trends. So again, coordinated effort, but it's important that we educate the farmers in terms of how they might be able to deal with the situation.
Yes, no, fantastic. And I've seen as well, there's been a few different startups in that space in terms of drone and satellite images, and Choris Unarmed Solutions in Rwanda is quite a significant one.
Yep.
Renuka, let me bring yourself in. You've done a lot of work in terms of the Global South, and Reynard has mentioned about a coordinated effort. So would love to get your thoughts on how that coordinated effort can be achieved to maybe tackle how climate change is impacting agriculture in Africa.
Thank you so much, TJ, and thank you, Reynard, for setting the scene. I would like to touch from the basics like agriculture, especially, in climate change. We have been seeing so far that we have focused on materials like transport, housing, and all other sectors, but actually we haven't touched on agriculture much. And lately, from 20 years, I think we have been understanding that agriculture is one of the most contributing sector And because we have to have food all the time, we never thought that we should be looking into this. And we have been, I think farmers were never part of this dialogue so far. And now we realize that agriculture and especially in global south or especially in Africa, 80% of people are directly or indirectly related to agriculture or agroforestry or the whole industry that is related to food and agriculture and forest. And I feel that there is a lot of carbon emissions, of course, we know, and especially with the understanding that methane can do a lot of difference in this climate change statistics. We need to make people understand that whatever you are doing should not be contributing anymore, but we should use this opportunity. Agriculture also offers very, very large opportunity to sequester carbon, including soil and the technology, and also to feed these lot of population that has been growing. So we have to now coming to the coordination of this, we have to understand that, okay, even if people or farmers wish to do anything, it is never going to happen unless finance coming, technology coming, policies allow it to do it, and so on. Because, say for example, like we are trying to, like today I am trying to do my 1 million avocado project in Uganda. And farmers are highly willing to set this out. But if there are no policies to support them, in the sense of that, okay, they would have a better trade out of this product, or the sub-products like oil and other things that could be developed, or even, you know, the technology, which is like traceable and accessible technology to assist them for these products and for to allow them to show that they have been doing this to the world. It's not going to happen. So I think there's a lot of coordination definitely needed in the way. Thank you.
No, fantastic. It's all good having a lot of these technologies, but without the support, without the correct funding or finance, they won't be able to grow and basically do the work that they're supposed to be doing. But I wanted to touch on, since we've kind of got that tagline of coordinated effort. So we've talked about before that when it comes to climate change emissions, America and China are quite significant in terms of those emissions, and Africa as a whole is only around the 3 and 4% mark. So with that said then, do you believe that the bigger emission polluters, America, China, places in the West as well, should be helping and coordinating countries and nations in Africa to allow them to have more support, more funding, and just better combat climate change?
Absolutely, yes. There is a policy even that they should give that every year certain amount, like 300 billion.
Which is from
yes, but they haven't gone to that rate at all. Like they have failed several times. So I feel that there is a lack of political will, but also there is a lack of financial knowledge about all this and how we can possibly do. Actually, many grants, many financial instruments are already there, but I would also stress, though that doesn't come, but there is a huge play of corruption and other things that does not allow this finance to go to the real people. And therefore, I think the people who understand this coordination or who can manage, who have that capacity, we should be trying to make that possible. And in all these cases, I think technology is very important, because I look at WhatsApp, I look at Facebook, I look at Uber, or such instruments, like such technology has been developed which allows affordability, accessibility, and inclusivity around the world. And it has made us possible to communicate and allow things like that. And this type of technology, if they are present, the transparency will grow, and it will allow the money and the finance and the whatever the products and services we want to allow to get to the ground level people, it will be possible.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Renuka. I think mostly it's been more of a box ticking exercise for most of the first world that have that responsibility. If you think about whether that finance actually gets to the people who need it, I personally have experienced this. The government would say, here is some funds that have been allocated to small farmers or youth farmers, and you apply to those grants. You don't necessarily get them because either the money vanishes somewhere in midair, or you don't have that information at all because it never gets to you. And it's not your fault really, because that information should have been shared. So I think, again, the right information for the people who mostly need it through platforms like WhatsApp or Facebook or any social media platform really, and not just a shady announcement really. It just needs to be a very official announcement that draws people to come and apply for those funds for the people who mostly need it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is one of the biggest problems where you see aid, whether it's the US aid or Western aid or aid from different countries being sent to the continent, but not always going right to the final person. So there's so many challenges there. But we'll just wrap up and we'll turn to our virtual guest now. Elizabeth, there's a lot of that we just talked about in terms of creating the correct support and also supporting the right people, whether it is the startups that are making a difference in terms of soil and fertilizers and even more. But we'd love to get your thoughts given you're working agribusiness.
Thank you, TJ, for allowing me to comment on this question. I do agree with the need for the coordinated effort. I also agree that it should be the Paris Declaration's role to have facilitated that, but these many years later, I think it's fair to conclude that the political will is not there. And now we see the Global South and Africa included bear the most damaging consequences of excessive consumer behavior and industrial malpractice in procurement from e.g. Africa. And the very good example is the cocoa beans in Ghana. 50% of the GDP in Ghana comes from agriculture, and cocoa beans is counting for a significant share of that. The farmer is struggling with $2 a day, and he has obviously not been able to invest in his trees on that kind of income for decades. And what is that caused by? It's this very low farm gate price. It is corruption even, that was mentioned as well. And it is certainly a solution to now be willing to and have the courage to reform that entire procurement marketing board system, where licensed buyers get the opportunity to buy these beans at this low cost, this low price, and the farmers is not able to invest in their trees, having diseases and soil health degraded for decades due to this imbalanced procurement practices. So solution is here, and it's urgent to make the brands invest directly in the farm level and share the responsibility for getting these yields up again, getting the yields properly priced, and making sure that we are not just stopping buying these beans at this end, because these days artificial chocolate is produced. Eventually we could risk that we are not even buying the beans, and then we have a vicious cycle started. Thank you.
And now just passing to Sarafina.
Sawa, swali letu linasema kwa vikwazo gani vikubwa vinavyozuia maendeleo. Okay, our question asks, what are the major obstacles hindering agricultural development in Africa? First, let's define what obstacles are. Obstacles are, it's a situation where something is unable to move forward because of certain reasons. When we talk about obstacles in the context of agriculture, we mean those things that cause agriculture to fail to move forward. So, and there are about 2 or 3 reasons. So I'll say, first of all, it's the availability of funds. Agriculture is in dire need of capital. Why insist it requires funding? Consider seeds. We are in urgent need of quality ones. Quality seeds need money. Or if I give an example, in our country, Tanzania, the government put a subsidy on seeds and fertilizer. Why? Because you find these seeds, in quality seeds, there are seeds first, there's hybrid and there's OPV, which are long-term and short-term, which are quality seeds that if you use them, you get much better results. For example, if we look at maize, for hybrid seeds without a subsidy, you might pay 20,000 or 18,000 as the normal price for a 2-kilo bag. But when the government applies a subsidy, you get it for 14,000 down to 8,500. Those OPV varieties, well, you can get those for 6,000 to 8,000 or maybe 7,000. But when the government put a subsidy, without a subsidy, it means you'd get it for more than that, 14,000 and up, which a farmer is unable to buy. They're unable to afford to buy these quality seeds. Why? Because it becomes very expensive. So through that, so our government decided to put a subsidy so every farmer can practice quality farming. But also I see even in other countries there are subsidies that people in the government does in those countries to ensure that agriculture to reduce those prices. But also we have infrastructure. Okay, infrastructure, roads. We're looking at storage vehicles, roads. We know agriculture isn't in the city. Agriculture is in the villages. So you find the road ends in the city where there's development. If it rains, no car, nothing passes. Even for others, a person can't walk because the roads are slippery, it's mud and all that. So these are very big obstacles. A person is unable maybe to transport their crops from the village to the city because the city is where you find cars. And here in the village, there's a shortage of cars. Cars are in the city. So those challenges, cars are few. So a person has grown many crops, few cars, causes a lot of impact, but also it causes crops to spoil on the way because of those cars not being nearby, causing the roads to be bad if a car gets stuck there for a long time, if it rains on it. If everything is like sunflowers, if it's rained on, then that's it and it's no good. So we also look at education. Farmers should be given education, quality education. Like I said first, I should introduce myself that we provide free education. We provide free education to farmers. It is essential that you go directly to them and demonstrate how to utilize high quality seeds to ensure you achieve positive results. We see all these various challenges and obstacles, and they are the reason why agriculture is failing to reach that high level of success we all desire. So what exactly is the solution to this problem? The solution lies in the availability of accessible loans and the implementation of subsidies, just as I mentioned before. We also need to improve the infrastructure to better help our local farmers transport their harvested crops from the rural villages into the city. Thank you very much.
Liking this video so far, please take a moment to give us a like, hype and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on your notifications so you never miss an update from us. For more deep dives and one-on-one interviews, you can listen to our podcast, The Afribond Sessions, either here on YouTube or on Spotify. On the Afribond Sessions, we speak with leaders and key stakeholders across Africa and the African diaspora to explore the business, the ideas and trends shaping the continent. You can also visit our website to learn more about the work we do at Afribond and our upcoming events.